There must be a willingness to do what is required.
Hey there! Why do you want to hear motivational tapes? For the ultimate success, happiness, health, and wealth, to value success and failure equally, to learn something new and be inspired, to increase knowledge about various fields, subscribe to us and stay tuned for endless motivation.
Wherever we are stopped in our dream, we stopped at a place called willingness.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that's fallen short of their goals, they ran into something that they were not willing to handle. Because in order to reach your dream, in order to make things happen, there must be a willingness to do what is required. If the need is to raise $2,000, and let's say you have a set of tapes for $40, are you willing to make 200 calls a day? Are you willing to stand on a corner and talk to people and say, listen, I've got a set of tapes here that can change your life? Are you willing to make the commitment that you will not go to sleep until you sell at least 10 tapes a day? Are you willing to say, if it takes me 12 hours walking and talking to people all day long until I find 10 people that will say yes, if I have to talk to 200 people or 300 people, that in order to provide food for my family, to provide shelter, to not to have creditors hounding me, am I willing to talk to 300 people a day? Am I willing to stand in an airport and sell tapes? Am I willing to go out and make calls again and again and again? Am I willing to knock on doors? Am I willing to do that? See, if we have some skill, some ability, some knowledge, or some product, then the only thing that's between us and what we want to generate is our willingness to expend the energy to produce the results that we want. Am I willing to wash cars? Am I willing to scrub floors? Am I willing to wash dishes? Am I willing to go out and speak or do seminars or workshops? What am I willing to do with my energy, my time, and my knowledge to produce the results? That's the bottom line. What are you willing to do? And what most people don't realize is they don't give up on their goals because it becomes insurmountable or it's impossible. Is that they just looked at what they wanted and they just decided within themselves, consciously or unconsciously, I'm not willing to produce this result. Are you willing to say that I need $2,000 between now and next week, and come hell or high water, I will produce that? That's the bottom line. Because the only thing that counts in life are results, not reasons of why you didn't do it, but results. That's the only thing that counts. And we are capable of producing results. That's it. That's the bottom line. Are you willing to honor your commitment to do that? What are you willing to do?
Mm-hmm.
How many floors are you willing to mop? How many shoes are you willing to shine? How many phone calls are you willing to make? How many sales are you willing to make? How many jobs are you willing to hold? How much service are you willing to provide?
Isn't there a difference between working hard and working smart?
Without any questions.
I
But
mean,
see, here's the thing, though, Larry, that most people don't keep their commitments. They are not willing to be a no matter what person. That I'm going to make this happen no matter what. Most people use escape routes for themselves. Most people have something that they could point to justify why they haven't produced the results. Some reason. Well, people weren't buying. Or the economy is soft. Somebody somewhere is buying. Somebody somewhere is spending some money. So as we begin to look at where we are, every time when I was working on developing my dream, and I knew that I had to do something, that I had to do it, I was always able to pull it out. Because I started thinking, if a Walt Disney can do it, if a John D. Rockefeller can do it, then I can do it. Am I to believe that they have some license of exclusivity in producing wealth or producing results that I don't have? I think that it was a key given to us. I was reading the book called Succeeding Against the Odds by John H. Johnson. Good book. He said, "For it is the most enduring element of our faith that I must conclude this speech by saying that men and women are limited not by the place of their birth, not by the color of their skin, but by the size of their hope." What is the size of your hope? As we begin to look at what it is we want to produce in our lives, I think another question could be asked, or to paraphrase what he said, what is the size of our commitment?
So learning disability, I grew up dyslexic, so I can relate to that of
Right.
just like constantly feeling stupid and insecure. And,
Right.
you know, I had a tutor my entire life.
Horrible.
Until I finished college, I had a tutor.
Right.
Second grade reading level when I was in 8th grade. It was just like a constant struggle
Right.
emotionally. And I took that outlet into sports and said, I'm going to just train myself to be the best I can be in a place where I can learn something differently.
Right.
And pick up a different skill. But with your learning disability, with your dad beating you, screaming at you, emotionally challenging your mind, with the racism you dealt with the different struggles you felt, with bullies, what was the hardest obstacle to overcome from up until about 15, 16?
The hardest obstacle was myself. I started realizing more and more and more that all these people were gone. What was haunting me was me. I can't control my dad. I can't control the people calling me nigger. I can't control all these things, but they were things that kept me down. It started becoming my reality. My reality was what they made it out to be. And I became the most important conversation you'll ever have with your life, in your life, is when you have yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And my conversation was absolutely horrifying.
What were you saying to yourself?
I'm dumb. I'm nobody. My dad was great in mental warfare. A drunk, insecure man will make everybody around him feel like hell.
Yeah.
Because he wants to give you no power. And that's why he was so mean to my mom and myself and my brother, because he didn't want anybody to get above him.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to keep you down low. So when you're growing up with all of this stuff, all this hate, and it wasn't the beatings. I could take the beatings all day. It was a mental torture. So when, at a young age, your parents put a dialogue in you of confidence or you're nobody. So that voice in my head was, I'm a loser. And then it was confirmed when I got in school, and in 3rd grade, I was falling behind. They want to put me in a special school.
Yeah.
With kids who can't learn.
Right.
Then it was confirmed what my dad was saying. So that confirmed it. Then I started cheating. So I started realizing, I'm taking the easy way out again.
Yeah.
And it started snowballing from there. Now the kids are calling me nigger. But it wasn't all the kids. So what happens is you start to get this picture that everybody hates you. Because your reality becomes so big that you can't see the clear picture.
It might have been 3 or 4
That's
kids
it.
doing it over and over.
Right, but it was the whole town.
Yeah.
Everybody hated me. So
The world hates me.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's when it became toxic. And that is where I became my worst enemy.
Wow. So those are the conversations.
Those
you
are the
had.
conversations.
When did you start to realize that those conversations weren't supporting your life?
So my mom was getting ready to get married, and this guy came into our lives. His name was Wilmuth. He came into our lives, and like I always say, whenever my life's getting better, God will put another challenge in front of me. He gets murdered.
Oh, man.
And we moved back to Brazil. So we moved from this small town in Brazil, and we moved to Indianapolis, Indiana. A lot more blacks, a lot more different colors.
Yeah. Weren't you living in New York at some point too?
I was born in Buffalo, New York.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
And I went from Buffalo to Indiana, and then from Indiana to Indianapolis, Indiana. Indianapolis, Indiana, he got murdered when I was in Indianapolis. We went back to Brazil. When we went back to Brazil, this is when the racism started.
Really?
Because now I'm 16. So when I was first in Brazil, I was 8 and 9. Wow. Kids don't care.
Yeah.
You're just a kid. I look different, but kids don't care.
Yeah.
Kids don't know. But when I moved and I came back, I'm no longer a kid. So all the kids I grew up with, I'm now different. I'm different. So there's about 5 black kids in my school. And the reality came when I came out one day and on my car was spray painted, "Nigger, we're gonna kill you."
Oh my gosh. In Brazil?
In Brazil. So I was in Brazil, Indiana, and about 10 minutes from Brazil, Indiana is a small town called Center Point, Indiana.
Uh-huh.
And Center Point,
Yeah,
Indiana was at that time a huge hub of the KKK.
Wow.
In 1995, the Klan marched in the 4th of July parade. And I don't know if the picture's in, I don't know if any pictures are in there, but if not, there's a picture in the book in 1995, 10 minutes from my house, of crosses being burnt.
10 minutes from your house?
10 minutes from my house.
Wow.
So when you have all this negativity growing up, and now you're cheating and you're doing this, and your dad beats you, and your mom's fiance gets murdered, and tragedy after tragedy after tragedy, and then you come to this. And your mom's working 3 jobs. She's not home at all. She never saw one report card of mine. She didn't know how bad off I was in school. She was hustling, trying to make money. And I was the man of the house, lying, sneaking around, not going to school, cheating, right, everything I could.
Yeah.
And so I walked out of school one day and saw this "nigger, we're gonna kill you" on my car. And I went in to get the principal. There's several incidents like this that happen. I went to get the principal, and the principal, he didn't have anything, he couldn't give me any advice. And I didn't want to tell my mom about it, because my mom was already bothered by my dad beating her down, and now her fiance got murdered. So I didn't want to bother her.
The last thing on her mind.
Yeah.
She's like, I've dealt with this my whole life.
Right. I didn't want to bother her with anything, man. So I kept everything away from her. So I'm in the car wash trying to scrub this stuff off, and I got... home, and so happens 2 weeks later, she gets a note from school. And the note says, your son is going to fail. He's not going to graduate. And she's like, what is this? And I had to come clean with my mom of all the years of me cheating, of all the bullying, of all this and all that. And she was such in a bad spot in her life that the best thing she could do was like, hey, you know, you're going to fail. You're going to fail school.
Wow.
And I was like, my God, man, like, you know, she was in a dark place and I was in a dark place, and we were kind of on our own in the same house, but living different lives. And I realized at this time in my life, she was a great mom, but I was on my own. And that's when a real big change happened for me. So I said, I'm going to join the military.
17?
17,
Yeah.
8, you know, I wanted to go into the delayed entry program. And I went to take the ASVAB test and I cheated. So
That's what you knew.
That's what I did.
You're good
So
at it, yeah.
I got my friend, because I walked into the recruiter's office, and the recruiter says, hey, you got to take this ASVAB test. Second I heard the test, I was like, man, oh, hang on a second.
I can't test to save my life, man.
I'm going to go. Can I come back tomorrow?
Yeah.
So I come back, and the recruiter starts handing these tests out. And I'm like, great, I'm going to sit with my boy. I'm going to copy off my boy. He had a different test than I did.
Ooh.
So I couldn't copy off him.
Yes.
And that's when the light bulb hit on. So I failed this test several
Did you
times.
fail twice,
I
or-
failed it
yeah,
twice.
yeah.
I actually failed it. I failed it twice. And the third time, I said, Mom, I need help.
Wow.
And she said, we don't have much money, but we can afford a tutor for 1 hour a week for 6 months, because this is my last time taking the test. And so I had to learn. So I had a third grade reading level. I'm a junior in high school.
Yeah.
So I had 6 months to learn all this stuff. And I only had a tutor for 1 hour a week. So basically what happened was she would come in for an hour, and I wasn't picking it up. Any of it. I just couldn't retain anything.
Yeah.
And it was so much to learn. It overwhelmed me. So basically what happened was I realized I had to go by the store and buy spiral notebooks. And I had to literally write down every single thing repeatedly. Like, so what may take you an hour to learn, it took me hours, 6, 8, 9, 10 hours. I had to write the same thing down.
Simple stuff.
Simple
yeah.
stuff.
I hear you, man.
So I
That's
started
my life.
memorizing. Yeah.
That's my life.
So I had to memorize.
Yeah.
So I didn't really learn it. I could just recall it from writing it down so many times that on page 71, I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
And that's how I did it. And I ended up passing that test.
Crazy.
And I got in the military. So,
It's crazy.
yeah.
There's probably not too many of you in this audience that would say, I want my kid to grow up even like me. They don't have a chance. Self-esteem is built the first 7 or 8 years of life.